Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is we're going to make a 4 by 4 inch square on a piece of paper. So the first thing I have to do is I have to line my ruler up at the top and make a mark at 4 inches along the top of my paper. And I'm also going to do this along the side. Line up my ruler and make a 4-inch mark. Now I'm going to do this along the bottom, right across from where I've already done my other 2 ones on the right side and at the bottom. And I'm going to line up those marks that I've already made to make straight lines across my paper, so it makes it really easy to cut out my square that I need. I can also work with a partner to do this, since you'll be at table, so we don't waste so much paper. You can get several different squares out of the same one. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my designs along the top and the left side of my square. You can make them as intricate as you want or as simple as you want, but somewhere in between is probably pretty good. Once I have my design finished exactly how I want, that's when I can start cutting it out. When you cut it out, be sure not to cut out or cross your square, because you need your square to be intact. You just want to cut out the sections that you've drawn. When I cut out with scissors, I always move the paper instead of moving the scissors. It makes it easier if you just keep your scissors kind of still when you're doing this. So here I'm finishing cutting out my design, and the next thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to take some tape and tape it along the other side so I can create my tessellation. So I'm lining it up where I cut it out, and I'm just going to move it across so that it lines up exactly where the other side would be. So in that right corner, I make sure that I have it in the correct spot. And I'm also going to do that with my other shape that I've cut out. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start what's called tessellating. So in order to tessellate, that means that it's going to repeat over and over, kind of like a pattern. So what I've done is I've just placed my tessellation that I've created, and I'm tracing it onto my paper. So I have my design, and I can just move it over, and it fits like a puzzle piece. And I just keep tracing until all of my paper is filled with my tessellation. And right here you can see that part of my tessellation overlaps over the side, and it's not going to show. You just don't worry about that, and you just leave it hanging off, which is fine. So when we get ready to paint this paper here, you're going to need several different brushes, or you may need several different brushes depending on what your design is. And I've chosen warm colors for my background, which are yellow and orange, and I'm going to use white to make them lighter. And I can obviously mix all those colors together if I really want to. I can use yellow, I can use light yellow, I can use orange and light orange, and I can do yellow orange and then light yellow orange. So that gives me quite a variety so that my paper isn't just 2 colors, just orange and yellow. So what I started out by doing is I used my largest brush to fill in most of the area that is in my tessellation. And when I got to those smaller sections where it's difficult to paint, I would use my smaller brushes to help with that. And I also found out, and I think it's easiest if you paint one color first. So I started out with a light orange, and I painted all the ones that I wanted to be light orange. Then I've moved on to the ones that I just want to be orange that comes out of the tube. And I'm painting all the sections that I want to be orange. This helps you not to waste so much paint, and you're getting out more paint than you need. And that helps us keep our supplies so that we don't waste things. I'm almost done painting, and that means that I'm going to be moving on to my self-portrait next, which is I've chosen a cool color. If your background is warm colors, your self-portrait needs to be cool colors and vice versa. I've already traced my self-portrait on the projector using the photograph that I took. And you're going to use one color. So I wanted my cool color is going to be blue, and I'm going to use white to make it lighter. And you'll see that in a moment. So forgive me for I didn't realize that I was not recording at this point, but I've traced it, and the lighter areas in my photograph that are white, I'm painting all those very light blue. So I have an equal mixture of white and blue. And you can tell here that I'm using two different brushes to paint this portrait, because there are really, really tiny details that require me alternating between those two brushes. So in my larger sections where it was black in my photograph, I'm using obviously the blue from the tube that I got it out of. And I'm just painting in those areas carefully, making sure that I'm not smudging paint too much or anything like that. So once I finish my painting, you're going to see me in a minute to start cutting it out. And I suggest that you use the same technique that I used earlier when you're cutting out your tessellation, that you move your paper instead of your actual scissors. Obviously, I had to let this dry first before I cut it out, because if I cut it out while it's still wet, I'm going to get paint all over my hands, I'm going to get paint all over the scissors, and you don't want that. So next you're going to see me gluing down my self-portrait. I make sure that there's glue on the back. Don't cover the whole thing. All you need is a few dots just to make sure everything's covered, and just press it down onto your actual paper.